My friends, Big Bill Anderson's Death Tours is here. I'm here to pay respects to a man that I knew for many years. He was one of my friends, one of my fellow wrestlers. He was an actor, stuntman, and a father, and a grandfather. And he was a really good guy, so fun to be around. I'll tell you some stories about this man. His name is H.B. Haggerty. Don Haggerty was his real name. But right here is the grave of H.B. Haggerty. Don Hardboiled Haggerty was born Don Stanisock on April 2nd, 1925 in Los Angeles. He grew to be 6 feet 1 and a very solid 285 pounds. After attending Pasadena City College and the University of Denver, Stanisock was drafted by the Detroit Lions in the 18th round of the National Football League entry draft in 1950. He played defensive tackle and after a season with the Lions was traded to the Green Bay Packers. Over the next 2 seasons, Stanisock played in 15 games and recovered 2 fumbles. He made his pro wrestling debut in Green Bay, Wisconsin in the football offseason, having learned some of the sport's secrets in Denver under the tutelage of Danny Lewis. Chicago promoter Carl Pagello said Haggerty moved like a bird and gave him the name Don Sparrow. Prior to that, HB had been wrestling under his given name, Don Stanisock. Realizing there was more money to be made in wrestling, Sparrow put down his helmet for good. By the mid-1950s, he was a major wrestling star, headlining many territories. Minneapolis promoter Wally Carbo dubbed him Hard-Boiled Haggerty. To his new moniker, HBH, added the modest claim, the King of the Wrestlers. Haggerty wrestled as a heel and was hated by the crowds because he portrayed an arrogant character. He was a big star in Canada, challenging the legendary Whipper Billy Watson in Toronto, the worshipped Yvonne Robert in Montreal, and top stars in Stampede Wrestling in Calgary. He was also very well known throughout California, Hawaii, and up the West Coast. Haggerty learned to outrage the fans around the world through the 1950s and 1960s. He aroused such ire that he was shot in the leg in Louisville, Kentucky, had his arm broken by a mob in Vancouver, Canada, and was forced by an angry fans to jump out of a second-story window in Duluth, Minnesota, when the temperature was minus 18 degrees. HB worked as a wrestler for 35 years. Some of the championship belts that he won were AWA United States Heavyweight title, the AWA World Tag Team Championship, IWA World Heavyweight Champion, NWA Canadian Open Tag Team Championship, NWA Beat the Champ television title, which coincidentally was a belt that I too won in 1982 for Mike LaBelle's wrestling promotion in Los Angeles. The MWA America's Tag Team Championship, NWA Pacific Coast Tag Team Championship, NWA Hawaii Tag Team Championship, NWA World Tag Team Champion, NWA Texas Tag Team Champion, and the WWA World Tag Team Championship. Those are but a few of the titles that Hardboiled Haggerty held. It was his career as an actor that got him some of his greatest recognition. Little wonder he was happy to get into the movie business. Whether acting or performing stunts, the athletic Haggerty did so well at the latter that he was inducted into the Stuntman's Hall of Fame. We've all seen him on the big screen: Paint Your Wagon, Foxy Brown, The Muppet Movie, Dirty Harry, The Big Brawl, Buck Rogers in the 25th Century, Death Sport, Mickey and Maude, usually playing a thug or a baddie of some capacity, a technique honed by his years of sneering and wrestling, and his head shaved and his mustache. He was and equally proficient on the small screen, working such TV shows as Mr. Belvedere, The Incredible Hulk, Fantasy Island, The Love Boat, Happy Days, The Bob Newhart Show, Get Smart, Beretta, and Starsky and Hutch. He was a highly respected member of the Cauliflower Alley Club and earned one of their highest honors in 1993, the Iron Mike Mazurki Award. Upon receiving his award, with a tear in his eye, he said, "From now on, I'm going to be known as Soft-Boiled Haggerty." On February 12th, 2000, at the Riviera Hotel in Las Vegas, I received an award for my years of contribution to professional wrestling from the Cauliflower Alley Club. One of the first people to congratulate me was H.B. Haggerty. That I will never forget. That same night, HB was sitting at the table next to me, and he had to present an award to Mr. America Gene Stanley. He didn't know he was going to be asked to do this, and when they called him from the podium to please come up, all I heard behind me was, "Oh, Christ." Because like all of us, he had bad knees, bad back from all his years of wrestling. But he did it anyway and got up and smiled as he went up and presented the award to Gene Stanley. On June 20th, 2003, H.B. Haggerty was seriously injured in a car accident in Los Angeles and suffered a broken neck, among other injuries. After leaving intensive care, he spent months in rehabilitation. He died on January 27th, 2004, at his home in Malibu, surrounded by his family. I remember receiving the call that day that HB had passed away from a board member of the Cauliflower Alley Club. I had tears in my eyes. Every year that I attended the annual CAC reunions, either in Studio City, California, at the Sportsman's Lodge, or at various Las Vegas hotels, HB was always there. He was a bigger-than-life character with a very hearty laugh. And I always remember a story that my good friend Red Bastine told me. He was working on the movie Mickey and Maude, as a background wrestler in a locker room scene. And they had to, in between takes one day, Red had left the set, and HB was left with all the wrestlers' bags in the locker room scene, and Red was using his real suitcase for this scene. And HB took about 30 locks off of the lockers that was in the background scene, took all the locks off the lockers, and hooked them all onto Red's bag. So when they started to shoot again, they had to actually stop and cut all these locks off because no one had a key for the locks. And Red had all these locks stuck on his bag, and it halted production for about an hour while they figured out how to get all the locks off his bag. So I thought that was a funny story Red had told me, and it was an indication of the sense of humor that HB had. And I just wanted to come by, pay my respects here at Forest Lawn Cemetery in Hollywood Hills, and say thank you for entertaining us, HB, for so many years. You'll be missed forever. Thank you, my friends, for watching this video, and I hope you enjoyed it. Please like, subscribe. Thank you.